Blacks make up about 12% of the American population. More specifically, black men, 6% of the American population. They're responsible for 60% of the murders.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ!
That's a thought crime. You have 6% of the American population doing 60% of the murdering. And yet white people are the problem? Nah, black privilege. I'm not afraid to talk about it. Thank you.
It's no way. It's no way. I pray that that's wrong. That's insane.
There is institutional black privilege in society today.
Oh.
And no one wants to say it out loud. Blacks can get into college with lower test scores. They get more acting contracts. They're literally in every other television commercial, right? They're allowed to, literally, if a white person says a certain word, you could be completely terminated from public life.
Bruh, you know what's crazy? This is literally facts, bro. This is facts.
And, my question has to do with affirmative action, and I mentioned several times earlier. In the history of the United States, as we all know, Civil War ended in 1865, and a lot of people think that slavery ended back then, but there was another form that is called indentured servitude that lasted until around the early 1900s, and so this form sort of continued, and then we got the civil rights movement in 1965. And so my question is, given the history, there are injustices done on people of color, and do you think that they deserve some sort of reconciliation? And if so, if not with affirmative action, what form? And if affirmative action is the answer, which according to your answer earlier, not exactly what you agree with, but for what length, right? How long should it last? And that's my question.
No, like no reconciliation, no reparations. We've already overly prioritized in society. I'll prove it to you. There is institutional black privilege in society today.
Oh.
And no one wants to say it out loud. Blacks can get into college with lower test scores. They get more acting contracts. They're literally in every other television commercial, right? They're allowed to, literally, if a white person says a certain word, you could be completely terminated from public life, right? And so we spent trillions of dollars post-Great Society, post the Civil Rights Act paired with the Great Society. Did any of that help? No, actually, blacks got poorer on average. And so before the Great Society...
Bro, you know what's crazy? This is literally facts, bro. This is facts. And I know... Here's the problem with society that I've noticed as a young black man. And I'm literally in a college dorm right now. We do have an easier time getting into college now than any other time in history. Literally. You do have lower test scores because... And I'm going to tell you from a statistical perspective. Colleges look at race quotas when allowing students to go to their school, meaning they want a certain number of black people, they want a certain number of white people, they want a certain number of Asian people. This is how they determine the numbers who are going to the school. But nationwide, African Americans, black Americans have lower test scores and grades on average in comparison to Asian American or in comparison to the average white American. But colleges still want a specific number of black Americans in their school. So what does this mean? This means that you don't have to get the same scores as someone else because we want a certain number of you anyways. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that's the truth of the matter. That is true. That is just what it is. And that's when things get a little tricky. Because if you say, well, we're going to take 1,000 black kids regardless of how their grades are, doesn't that sound like a problem? Meaning I could score 300 points lower on the SAT and still get into the same school and program as you who scored 300 points higher than me? That's an issue. And obviously, it's not helping African Americans because what is going up? Is our income on average going up? No. Is our employment going up? No. We are still the lowest in employment. Even though, statistically speaking, we do have the higher chance of getting into the schools, given we have the same grades and statistics. Nothing I said was political. I'm just being 100% honest here.
75% of blacks growing up in America had a father and a mother in the home. Now that number is anywhere between 20 to 25%. So America got significantly less racist. We spent trillions of dollars in our urban corridor. We implemented affirmative action in our government hiring practices, in our corporate hiring practices, in our college admissions. And yet, blacks on average are poorer than they were in proportion to the 1960s. What changed? And the answer is that we are not confident, we're not honestly courageous enough to empower black voices to say, hey, you have to fix the problem in your own communities. It's not about white guilt or white pandering. It's about, how about you stay with the woman you impregnate? How about you stop embracing gangster rap culture? How about you stop listening to music that glorifies the worst part of society? And people are afraid to say this. And Thomas Sowell wrote an entire book about it. And the affirmative action creates race resentment is what ends up happening. And while I acknowledge that...
Bro, that is 100% true. Affirmative action does create race resentment. Because here you have... Here's the thing. There are young African Americans, there are young black people who worked extremely hard to get to their level in life, who work extremely hard to get to college, who work extremely hard to get their position at their prestigious company. But people look at them, and I've seen it happen on social media. They look at them, or they look at people like me. They probably look at me, and they say, well, you're not working that hard. It's no way. Affirmative action. When I work day and night to get to where I'm at, I've been working for 4 years straight. And you have other people who are doing the same. But when you have a system like affirmative action in the way that it's implemented today, where they just look at race, they don't look at any other factor, they don't look at where you're from, they don't look at how many parents are in the household, they literally focus specifically on race, it's a problem. And it does create race resentment, because you have white Americans or Asian Americans or Indian Americans who may be struggling more than you. But because they are not as dark as you, colleges don't care. Companies don't care. And that's just not right. That's just not right. I'm sorry. It's not right. And it creates resentment for people who, it just creates a lot of resentment, man. And it's not okay. And when you have and what's crazy to me is that even though we have systems now where today is the best time for African Americans ever in history, ever in any country, in any land, right now in America is the best time, people still want more privilege. You want more affirmative action. You want more legislation. I don't know. You want more when today is the best. But anyways, let's continue the video.
Yes, of course there were laws that were unjust in the past. We've already lived under the biggest reparations program in the history of modern society, and it's been an abysmal failure. You want to know what true liberation would look like? Black America taking responsibility for their actions and doing the 3 to 4 things that are necessary to succeed in America. Getting married before you have kids, graduating from high school, get a job, any job, and not committing crimes. This is what drives me nuts about the looting stuff, is that people...
In one area here's the area where I don't know if it's a disagreement, but where I would challenge Charlie Kirk on, is I believe most African Americans are doing the right thing. At least where I'm from, or at least what I'm seeing, they are doing the right thing. But if you have a cultural backbone of doing the wrong thing, where, for example, he brought up hip hop or rap music, where that is a big cultural aspect of the African American community, that doesn't necessarily mean that all African Americans, indulge into this, or even most African Americans indulge into this. It just means that it is predominantly known to be a part of this community. Remember, African Americans only take up 13% of America. I don't even know if it's still that. It's around that percentage. But if only 2% or 3% of that 13% take on this, culture, that's still hundreds of thousands of Americans. So it could just be that 3% or 2% of black people who are taking in this stuff, but they're the ones who, could be ruining the numbers for us. I don't know. That's just an approximation for me. But I just want him to, look at that perspective as well.
People say, well, it's just a matter of, it's a matter of survival. How about you stop acting like a criminal? How about you stop stealing stuff and we justify it? And the more that we do that, the more we are building a baseline of an acceptance. And here's the thing, just so we're clear. Blacks make up about 12% of the American population. More specifically, black men, 6% of the American population. They're responsible for 60% of the murders.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
That's a thought.
Jesus Christ.
You have 6% of the American population doing 60% of the murders.
There's no way. It's no way. It's no way. I pray that that's wrong. That's insane.
And yet white people are the problem? No. It's black privilege, and I'm not afraid to talk about it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Follow-up?
Do you want to follow up? Sorry, you want to follow up?
I
Yeah.
have a short follow-up.
Yeah.
So thank you for your response, and that was great insight. And it sounds like you're personally affected to an extent through the effects that you talked about, but through the black communities. And since we are affected, and you as well, do you think we have some sort of responsibility to sort of fix the problems on, instead of just giving our opinion, actually doing to an amount of what we can do? And if so, what would that look like?
Yeah, it's a great question. So here's what's amazing, is despite the fact that Asians have harder job getting into college, harder job getting high, Asians are like the wealthiest group in America by far, despite all the things that are thrown. And you might ask the question, why? Well, it's because Asian Americans stay loyally married far more than any other ethnic group. They prioritize education, and I don't want to overly generalize, but Asian moms don't put up with their kids committing crimes.
And this kind of hurts to even listen to. This really hurts to listen to, because what he's saying is really harsh. But a lot of it is not false. It's really not false. He is saying it in like a punch in the face type of way. But Asian Americans, they do have a harder time to get into college. And if you say they don't, you are lying. You are flat out lying, because if I was Asian today, and I had the same grades, the same test scores, and I applied to the same schools, there's a chance I could have gotten to the less schools. And that is crazy, because you know why? You know why it's crazy? Because if an Asian person had the same grades and test scores as me, and they turned black, there is a 0% chance they would get in the lower school. They would get into less schools. And that's just the truth. That's just what it is. So what does that mean? They have a harder time getting into schools. They do stay married more often than not in comparison to the black community. It's true. A lot of black men, I wouldn't say a lot of black men, because that's kind of misleading. Well, I'm not going to say a large portion of our men have kids, because that's not true either. But a lot of black men do have kids by multiple women. I'm not going to say the largest portion, but more than other races, we have more baby mothers. What he's saying is not false. And when we blame white people for black issues, it completely removes anything that our culture is doing, our self-proclaimed culture. We take all the blame that we could be, using on ourselves, and we'll say, oh, it's because society is racist. Everything goes back to racism. No! Some issues we can fix. And it sucks to listen to, because I don't want to listen to this. I don't want to say this right now, but a lot of it is true.
Am I right? Right? A bunch of Asians looting? That dog does not hunt in the Korean American community or the Chinese American community. So, yeah, there's like strong social fabric and cultural fabric that say it's not acceptable to engage in this sort of behavior. So, no, I don't think we should ask for any special treatment. I think what is the goal? The goal is to do our best to try to create a society that values meritocracy and values work ethic and things you can change, not things you can't change. Thank you, man. God bless you.
And that's true, bro. And a lot of the reasons why racism or shouting racism doesn't even work is because the average white person that you are shouting racism at doesn't even make that much. So when you're saying white people are holding you back, the average white person is not a millionaire. They're not even 100,000 So why are you yelling at them? They literally just go to work every day to pay bills. It's not like they are millionaires riding in Rolls Royces on gold paved roads. They are average people, and you're just yelling at them to fix your... It's a lot, man. But if you have any suggestions, comment down below. I'm Jojo, and I'll see you next week.